Hi, we chose to do Starbucks for our project. So here is an overview of their DEI initiatives to start. Actually, to start, here's a quote on their 2022 statement for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it reads, "We're dedicated to creating a culture of warmth and belonging where everyone's welcome and respected. Our work to advance inclusion, diversity, and equity at Starbucks has already led to important policies, programs, and initiatives. There's still more to be done, and we're committed to taking further action toward tangible and lasting change." So for the DEI initiatives, for 2023, Starbucks has an inclusion and diversity mentorship program that's designed to support historically marginalized partners by connecting them in a one-to-one mentorship program with senior leaders. This really helps with professional development, making connections. Starbucks also offers a free and publicly available 15-course anti-bias curriculum that's developed with Arizona State University. So this is accessible and free to the public. Yeah. And also for the 12th consecutive year, Starbucks scored 100% on the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index. And as a result, they were listed once again as one of the best places to work for LGBTQIA equality by Human Rights Campaign. Additionally, for 7 years, Starbucks has scored 100% on the Disability Equality Index, and they're recognized as one of the best places to work for disability inclusion. In 2018 and every year since, they've also achieved 100% pay equity for all partners in the US performing similar work, and they're on track to receive the same status for their Canada stores. So some more DEI initiatives. By 2025, their goal is to achieve racial and ethnic diversity of at least 30% at all enterprise or corporate levels and at least 40% at all retail and manufacturing roles. So for 2022, they have an average of 30.6% people of color and 56.2% women represented among all enterprise roles. However, this is an aggregated percentage. The enterprise roles that were most underrepresented of people of color were senior vice president and director, which both sat at 27%, which was below their goals. Starbucks partner base is also 71.6% female and over half people of color. Their board of directors, however, is comprised of only 38% people of color, 3 of 8 members, and 25% of women, 2 of 8 members. So they still have some work in this field. However, 14% of Starbucks retail employees, 11% of enterprise employees, and 13% of manufacturing employees in the US self-identify as having a disability. So, as for their accessibility and inclusive design, Starbucks focuses on both web accessibility and physical accessibility. So I included this quote from them that says, "Our goal is to ensure that physical and digital Starbucks environments will meet an elevated standard of accessibility by 2030. So as for their web accessibility, they provide accessibility features on their app, such as alternative text for images, title attributes for links, structural markup, labeled forms, and associated data table cells, and other alternative content for non-supported technologies. They've also, since I believe 2021, offered free Iris services that uses a smartphone app to connect vision impaired people to trained visual interpreters that provide timely information about the customer's surroundings, so it can help them navigate physical stores. Yeah, and that's been a really great help for our vision impaired customers at Starbucks. Starbucks website is also monitored and tested regularly by both internal and external accessibility consultants to ensure that their websites are meeting the highest standards of accessibility. And as for physical accessibility and inclusion, large print and braille menus have been available in all stores in the US and Canada for a while now at Starbucks. And they also operate 11 signing stores globally that create a safe space for people to connect through sign language and celebrate deaf culture. Starbucks also offers on-the-job training programs for people with cognitive and physical disabilities through the Starbucks Inclusion Academy. And they're right now testing out in some stores speech-to-text technology that provides live captioning displays for partners and customers to reference when placing an order, picking up an order. Yeah, and they're also testing out order readiness notification boards that provide visual cues for when orders are ready for our hard of hearing customers.
So when it comes to strengths for Starbucks is diversity, equity, and inclusivity initiatives. Starbucks is a global brand, so they are recognized globally. They have over 35,000 stores in 80 different countries. In 2018, Starbucks committed to 100% pay equity regardless of gender and race. Starbucks' U.S. partner base is 71.6% female, and 50.5% of those people are from racial and ethnic minority groups. In June of 2023, Starbucks also joined the HRC, which is the largest LGBTQIA 2+ civil rights advocacy organization in the nation. Starbucks also has a BIPOC mentorship program for minority students. And lastly, Starbucks received a 100 on the Disability Equity Index, resulting in their recognition as a best place to work for disability inclusion. I also added a quote which Starbucks put on their website, which states, "Through our community partnerships, feedback from our partners and customers, and counsel from civil rights and community leaders, Starbucks will continue our journey to be a place where everyone is welcome."
So in terms of weaknesses, while Starbucks is very strong on the scale of providing resources for their diversity and inclusion efforts. After the murder of George Floyd, Starbucks pledged to increase their diversity practices. This is kind of when they started doing a lot better with that. However, as reported by USA Today, Starbucks set a goal of 30% people of color at all corporate jobs and 40% in every retail and manufacturing role by 2025. 2 years later, the company's own workforce demographic reports there is still much progress to be made because less of half of all the reports reported by the company have reached the goal by 2022. So while there is representation, they're not reaching the numbers that they predicted to reach. Additionally, I included this quote that kind of just a little more specific about what Starbucks is doing, but their Black representation was particularly low. And from 2020 to 2022, Starbucks' own numbers show no change among baristas and shift supervisors and less than a 1% point improvement among store managers. And Starbucks also reported only a 1-point gain for regional VPs, the top retail position. So within their weaknesses, the intention is there, but the execution just needs to be a little bit stronger. And I think within the regional VPs and the top positions is where their diversity and their equity and inclusion efforts can be a little bit stronger.
So moving on to external factors, the first opportunity I want to discuss is based on this recent statement from the Department of Homeland Security, which is headlined "Resources and Information for Faith and Community Leaders Regarding the Israel-Hamas Conflict." And the part I wanted to emphasize reads, "As the Israel-Hamas conflict continues, we have seen an increase in reports of threats against Jewish, Muslim, and Arab communities and institutions." And this is significant for Starbucks because in light of the ongoing war between Israel and Palestine and the resulting domestic tensions, Starbucks has the opportunity to assert its solidarity with its Jewish, Muslim, and Arab employees. And the text at the bottom of this slide is from a letter sent out to Starbucks employees and partners, and it essentially expresses sympathy for civilians that have been affected by the present war, denounces violence, and it also provides a few resources that the partners have at their disposal. But despite Starbucks' statement to partners and its provided list of resources, the company's recent lawsuit against Workers United for using Starbucks' likeness to express support for Palestine indicates a further opportunity for Starbucks to extend support to its Muslim and Arab partners specifically. And this next opportunity stems from this article that was published yesterday by the New York Times, headlined, "In Texas, Local Laws to Prevent Travel for Abortions Gain Momentum." And the part I wanted to highlight notes that these ordinances apply to someone assisting a pregnant woman with travel, including financial support. And this matters for Starbucks because they've already made commitments to reimburse travel expenses for those seeking abortion procedures in the wake of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. To the left is another letter to partners where they express how partners enrolled in Starbucks Healthcare are now offered reimbursement for eligible travel expenses when accessing abortion. But due to the growing movement to borrow travel assistance, Starbucks now has the opportunity to revisit and expand its healthcare benefits as part of its dedication to provide employees with comprehensive and accessible healthcare coverage.
So moving on to the threats, employee dissatisfaction rates in states with less tolerant views on race, inclusivity, or diversity may threaten Starbucks' brand reputation as a whole. For example, an anonymous barista who only gave her first name, Sunny, was working at a Starbucks location in Texas, and she told USA Today that there were no real improvements in recent years, even though Starbucks claims to be on track to reach their 2025 goal of inclusivity. She said, quote, "At the beginning of me signing on, they told me that they were a company that's really big in promoting from within. She said, I am living proof that that's not true. And if every location in the corporation is not prioritizing diversity to the same degree, there's a chance that some locations' reputations can negatively affect on the company's values as a whole." Since the Starbucks Corporation in the US at most of its levels is disproportionately white, their lack of diversity within the company, especially at the corporate level, can impede their ability to have a stronger connection with their customers and employees in the face of racial disparities and crises in America. And the topic of inclusion and diversity incites a larger discussion about diversity that may offer too many solutions or answers, which could make challenging decisions for the company.
In conclusion, Starbucks has made significant progress in its DEI efforts, but nonetheless, like we've kind of stated here, they definitely have room to grow. As we pointed out in the earlier DEI efforts, compared to other brands and companies, they definitely make an immense effort to contribute to those efforts. But I think within that, just reaching their numbers and kind of being real with what actual progress they're making would be kind of significant and important for Starbucks. But other than that, we think they're overall really good, strong company in their DEI efforts. So thank you so much for listening today. We included our references on the next page. And yeah, that's our project.